Bonsoir tout le monde. Good evening, everyone. We'll start this meeting. Item 1, roll call. All members of council are present. I'll ask everyone to please stand for the prayer and the national anthem. Attendu que le Canada est fondé sur des principes qui reconnaissent la suprématie de Dieu et la primauté du droit, prenons un moment de réflexion personnelle. Whereas Canada is founded upon principles that recognize the supremacy of God and the rule of law, let us take a moment of personal reflection. Item 4, additions, deletions, or amendments. We have Councillor Janoski, item 18A for the tree cutting bylaw. We had all seen an email in regards to ice rental rates I was going to bring up, but we actually have it as part of our second draft budget discussions, user fees, so I'll bring it up at that point in time. We can discuss it then. Anything else to the members of council, Tad? Councillor Associate?
Yeah, I was just wondering if I could get an update on the museum.
Yeah, I think that was part of the discussions in the budget, but we'll put it.
Yeah. Not budget so much, but just schedule of renovations that are going on.
Okay. Okay, anything else? No? Okay. So item 5, motion to approve the agenda as amended. Need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Conseil Brisson, seconded by Councillor Janoski. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. Item 6, disclosure of pecuniary interest. Seeing none. Item 7, adoption of minutes. Regular council minutes of October 21st, 2019, and the special council minutes of October 22nd and 23rd, 2019. Need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Janoski, seconded by Councillor Associate. Questions? None? Motion to approve the following minutes. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. Item 8, presentations. We have none. Item 9, delegations. We have none. Item 10, consent items. Motion that all items listed under consent items be received as presented. Item A, request for the Community Grant Special Event Program from the Parks and Recreation Department, November 2019. Item B, minutes of the Limoges Citizens Committee, September 10th, 2019. Item C, minutes of the Township of Russell Public Library Board, September 12th, 2019. Need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Lorraine, seconded by Conseiller Brisson. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. Item 11, reports from departments and council committees. Item A, bylaw assuming a public highway, report PD 111-2019, dedicating block 66 on plan 50M 314, block 109 on plan 50M 313, and block 111 on plan 50M 313 as part of the public highway on Colmar and Strasbourg streets in Embrun. Questions, comments, members of council? Anything to add from the administration for the standard stuff? We'll move on. Item B, removal of part lock control, report PD 115-2019. The council receives report PD 115-2019 dated November 4, 2019, and adopts a bylaw to approve the proposed application for the removal of part lock control submitted by CH Clément Construction, Inc., care of André Baudette for the parcel of land described as block 107 on plan 50M 332, being parts 12 to 17 on plan 50R 10926, and known as 340, 342, 344, and 346 Twilight Avenue in the village of Russell. And block 108 on plan 50M 332, being parts 1 to 11 on plan 50R 10926, and known as 332, 334, 336, and 338 Twilight Avenue in the village of Russell. Questions, comments, members of council? Anything to add from the administration? No? Item C, removal of part lock control, report PD 117-2019. The council receives report PD 117-2019 dated November 4, 2019, and adopts a bylaw to approve the proposed application for the removal of part lock control submitted by Christian Laclade, owner of Habitation Laclade, and legally described as block 42 on plan 50M 334, being parts 1 and 2 on plan 50R 10919, and known as 284, 286 Moisson Street in the village of Embrun. Block 44 on plan 50M 334, being parts 1 to 3 on plan 50R 10921, and known as 276, 278 Moisson Street in the village of Embrun. Block 51 on plan 50M 334, being parts 1 to 5 on plan 50R 10920, and known as 279, 281 Moisson Street in the village of Embrun. And block 53 on plan 50M 334, being parts 1 to 3 on plan 50R 10922, and known as 271, 273 Moisson Street in the village of Embrun. Questions, comments, members of council? Anything to add from the administration? No? I'll move on. Item D, zoning bylaw amendment, removal of holding symbol for part of lot 12, concession 3, report PD 119-2019. The council receives report PD 119-2019 dated November 4, 2019, and approves the zoning amendment application submitted by John Corbinelli Investments Limited and Anthony Corbinelli to remove the holding symbol H on the properties legally described as part of lot 12, concession 3, being lot 1 to 35, and known as properties along Station Trail in the village of Russell, as follows. From residential 1A withholding R1AH to residential 1 R1A. Questions, comments, members of council? Anything to add from the administration? No? Item E, tax adjustment applications pursuant to section 357 in the Municipal Act, report FS 37-2019. The council receives report FS 37-2019 dated November 4th, 2019, and approves as outlined in Schedule A, applications for cancellation, reduction, or refund of taxes pursuant to section 357 of the Municipal Act 2001, SO 2001, Chapter 25. Questions, comments, members of council? Anything to add from the administration? Pretty standard stuff. Okay, we'll move on next to item F, the 2020 budget report FS 38-2019. That council receives report FS 38-2019 dated November 4, 2019, and adopts the 2020 budget as proposed in the new summary report Schedule A, which includes a 4% tax increase. And that council approves option 1 as presented in Schedule H as a desired option for the investment of an additional 1% of taxation into our roads. And that council approves the proposed 2020 user fees and charges bylaw as modified by Schedule E. And that council approves the 2020 community grant special event program listing as presented in Schedule F and the new organizational chart Schedule G. Monsieur Leduc, Monsieur Godin.
Merci, Monsieur le Maire. Bonsoir, membres du conseil. So we're bringing forth the second draft of the 2020 budget tonight for adoption. As council knows, we met on October 22nd, 23rd for budget working sessions. Throughout those two sessions, We went through the first draft of the budget, where the administration brought forth a budget with a 2% increase. So following those discussions, as you know, we took a lot of notes of our discussions, and we had some minor adjustments to make. So on top of the minor adjustments, there was also a request from council to add a 1% increase for road infrastructure, or road maintenance, and also a 1% increase for financing of the rec complex. So basically, the second draft of the budget, this is what we're bringing forward to council. Donc, vous allez voir une augmentation globale de 4% dans cette deuxième ébauche. Comme je mentionnais, 1% pour les routes et 1% pour le rec complex qui ont été ajoutés. What I would maybe recommend that we can do right now is go through Schedule C, which is a list of the changes from first draft to second draft. I can just browse through them quickly, or briefly. And if council has any questions, we can go through those in details.
Sure. Yeah, question? Conseil Larry?
Can I just ask, is that on?
Yeah.
Can I just ask that be blown up a little bit bigger if we don't make losses at work, so it's hard for me to see that, thank you.
Donc, le premier changement qu'on a apporté dans la deuxième ébauche, c'est, comme j'ai mentionné précédemment, 1% d'augmentation pour nos investissements dans nos chemins. Schedule H of the report is going to show you options of where we're actually recommending to invest those extra funds, so we can go through that afterwards. We also had a 1% increase, so another $120,000 for of investment into the recreation complex reserve. We, as Madame Bordeaux had presented, we're adding a junior bylaw position as well to help with the sales of our dog tags. So we're showing here an extra $18,000 to fund that position. Extra revenue from those efforts for $16,000, and we also had an adjustment made to the cost for the community safety and wellbeing plan from where we're partnering with this UCPR in the counties. As Mme Tremblay presented, we're also proposing an addition of an urban planning technician. Essentially, there's no additional cost to the taxation base for this position. It's all going to be funded through building department reserves. We had a minor adjustment to the South Nation requisition levy following the confirmation from South Nation. We had to increase that projected invoice by $1,000 and $300. And then regarding our discussions par rapport à une stratégie qu'on avait proposée pour la police provinciale, suivant les directives du conseil, on a décidé d'enlever le transfert en réserve qu'on avait de 9 335. We're still keeping that transfer, that additional $112,000 that we're splitting between the infrastructure fund and the rec complex reserve, but there was an adjustment to be made here. And also for our reserve that we've had for years regarding the Limoges Citizens Committee Reserve, we're using those funds for additional garbage bins and benches and Christmas light as well. And then the last adjustment we're presenting here on the operational side is regarding supplementary tax adjustment. Sorry. So basically, we're just reducing our estimated revenues for supplementary taxes by $5,000.
Question, conseiller Brisson?
Je sais qu'on avait discuté un peu les séminaires, il y avait des Christmas lights pour Marionville, mais je sais que ça avait été mentionné comme quoi que l'année passée, ça avait de l'air plus mort, parce qu'à part de ça, il y en avait à moitié qui avait eu un petit défaut. C'est que je sais qu'il y a un coût initial pour faire venir, pour faire installer tout bien juste une ou deux lumières. Je me demandais, est-ce que le conseil veut vraiment aller dans cette direction-là ou si on est mieux d'attendre de voir, parce que surtout que ça avait été mentionné, que c'était pas mal quand même à l'extérieur du village qui restait de la place pour une lumière, parce qu'il y a rien que 40 photos, si on était dedans ou si on attendait pour la lumière.
Merci, conseiller Brisson. L'administration, quelque chose à ajouter, M. Gourdon?
Nous avons présentement 8 lumières installées à Marionville. Donc, ce qui est proposé ici, c'est d'utiliser la réserve restante pour acheter dans une lumière. Dans le fond, il nous reste un espace à Marionville, donc on pourrait acheter une lumière, puis le reste du budget là, disponible serait utilisé pour acheter des bains et remplacer des bains poubelles. Donc, on pouvait finir de remplacer ce qu'il y a d'existant en Brun, puis faire les ajouts autant à Marionville qu'à Limoges.
Conseiller Bisson, conseiller Chinaski.
Mais bon, ma question était, il doit y avoir un frais de shipping pour avoir juste une lumière. C'est pour ça que je me demandais si c'était un bon timing là ou si on
Monsieur
attendait.
Bourdon.
Essentiellement, dans le prix de la lumière, on a considéré là, le frais de shipping et d'installation là, pour cette fixture d'extra-là.
On parle-tu d'un montant exorbitant?
Avec l'installation avec hydro et shipping, c'est environ 300 $.
Ah, OK.
OK, conseiller Chinaski.
Juste une question pour M. Godin au niveau du processus. Quand je comparais le draft 1 puis la version finale pour le budget, les montants de 2019, du budget 2019, étaient différents. Est-ce qu'il y a une raison derrière ça? La première ébauche qu'on a eue du budget, pour le budget de 2019, parce que souvent on sert des chiffres de 2019 pour comme gager, voir qu'est-ce qu'on va avoir pour 2020. Les revenus puis les dépenses sur certaines lignes sont différents. Fait que, au niveau des revenus, between D1 et D2, il y avait une différence de quasiment 26 000 $.
On parle-tu de la ligne to-date actuals?
No, approved budget. I'm just looking at budget because when we were looking at budgeted figures for this year for 2020, we often look back at 2019 numbers to kind of gauge where we're at. And so I found differences in the 2019 revenues and expenses budget that were presented to us in draft 1 versus draft 2. So I'm not sure if it was just a process or something like that, but it was substantial. I know on the expenses side, it decreased by about 10%, like by about 25,000. So it might, like I'm expecting a perfectly good explanation. I just wanted to be sure that I understood why.
Yep. Monsieur Leduc, Monsieur Godin.
Merci, Mr. Mayor. No, it's a perfectly good question. Those numbers shouldn't change. I think are you referring to the summary page, basically, the first, annex A? En regardant vite fait l'annexe A, le 2019 approved budget, je vois que la ligne, le bottom line n'est pas à zéro, qui est pas normal. Donc, en fait, vous avez raison d'identifier cette variance-là. Ce que je peux dire, c'est que ce qui a été présenté dans votre cartable, le sommaire que tu as dans ton cartable avec le first draft, ça serait le bon montant. Donc, c'est certain que on va regarder à cette annexe-là pour voir c'est quoi qui représente cet accord-là. Parce que c'est pas normal que le budget soit pas à zéro en 2019.
OK, parce que c'est au niveau des revenus. Je sais que les revenus ont changé. Ils ont descendu d'environ 26 000 en version 2.
Oui.
Puis les dépenses aussi ont descendu d'environ 24-25 millions. 1000.
Oui,
C'est
donc,
juste. Ouais.
Oui, non, je suis tout à fait d'accord. Puis je pense en note comme quoi il faudrait vérifier. J'ai pas de réponse pour toi ce soir. Par contre, je peux te rassurer dans le sens que, te rassurer. Je peux dire que la colonne de 2019 en ce moment qui apparaît dans l'annexe A ne va pas devoir être corrigée.
C'est la bonne. OK.
Par contre, pour te rassurer, si on regarde la colonne de 2020 qui a l'intention ce soir de faire adopter, on arrive au bout de la ligne à un montant de zéro. Donc, ça me confirme comme quoi que il n'y a pas d'erreur nécessairement dans cette...
Ouais, moi, c'est surtout qu'en développant le budget pour 2020, on sert des chiffres de 2019 pour gager par combien que ça monte, quoi que ce soit. Fait que s'il y a des différences, ça met un peu mal à l'aise.
Oui, non, je suis tout à fait d'accord, je comprends ça. Si ça peut t'assurer, par exemple, si tu vas voir dans ton cartable, puis si tu regardes à cette même ébauche-là, tu devrais voir que le surplus du site général et le surplus du site bibliothèque qui sont présentés dans le différentes lignes sont les deux zéros. Qui valideraient le fait que
Conseiller Brisson.
Moi, c'est juste une question comme pour le 1% pour le road infrastructure puis pour le complexe. Je suis complètement pour, sauf que après réflexion, vu qu'on a la certitude pour le garbage and the recycling, that might go up the equivalent of between 5 and 7% of the budget. That will be quite a big hike already, because the equivalent, because we were saying that it was about $100 per home, that we might have a hike with this. So
If council decided to move forward with the organic.
even with just the river, when there was a hike too,
Monsieur Bourgon?
I don't remember exactly how much.
Merci, M. le maire. Donc, vous avez raison que si l'augmentation d'un un peu plus de 100 $, c'est si on va de l'avant avec le programme d'organique. Si, avec la soumission que nous avons présentement reçue, il y a une augmentation d'environ 10 pour le usage des déchets.
Pour
La
le
collecte de
status quo.
déchets de recyclage pour le maintien du service comme on le connaît présentement.
Status quo, c'est à peu près, anticipe à peu près 10 $. Si jamais on fait des changements au service qu'on donne, on augmente le service, il y a un coût additionnel.
Exactement. Essentiellement, on fait l'ajout d'un service, donc ça reflète environ 100 $ par service.
Ok. Puis ça va être comme le rapport dit, ça va devenir dans un rapport séparé plus tard.
Exactement.
C'est bon, c'est pour la clarification, parce que je pensais que c'était plus que ça, qu'il y avait eu pour le même service.
Conseiller Laurent?
And the garbage and recycling cost, that fee that we've had, how many years have we had that same amount?
Monsieur Bourgon?
Well, we've been on that contract for almost 7 years now. We did have a small increase when we did close the landfill a few years ago, but
Right.
essentially since 2015, the user fees have remained the same.
Thank you.
It used to be 179, if
Now
I'm
it's
not
185.
and it's been there since. Okay. Okay, vous pouvez continuer, Monsieur Godin? Je sais pas s'il y avait un autre annexe que tu voulais passer à travers.
Oui, merci, M. Maire. Donc, juste pour finaliser cette annexe-ci, donc la partie du bas de l'annexe, dans le fond, c'est the bottom of the page is essentially the commitments that we've made to council during those sessions, where, for example, the waste with the fact that we only received one tender, that we will be bringing back a report to council to get direction on how to address that, and a few other commitments that we've made with council regarding, for example, the salary market study that's currently undergoing. So basically, we're not proposing, like we usually do in this, with the adoption of the budget, to also adopt the salary grid. The 2% that's included in the budget would actually only be imposed or applied to the upgraded grid once we bring that report to council.
And once it gets approval from council at that point in time.
Exactly. D'autres other commitments that we had made concernant, so regarding the Cape Boyd Museum, as we had mentioned, we were giving ourselves until April 2020 to have some fundraising efforts. At that point in time, we would bring back a recommendation to council with the results of those efforts, as well as recommendations on in regards to the scope and how to finance that project. Item number 4, we had identified the works at the corner of Blais and Notre Dame. We just had mentioned that council is not committing at this point in time that we're going forward with any of that project, but that we had applied for a grant, and once we received that answer, the response from the grant, that we would bring back a report to council
at that point in time for
Exactly.
decision.
Exactly. And the last 2 points is just for the land purchase in the industrial park, for just over $4 million, that we would bring a financial plan to back up and to justify or to show council a business plan before making that purchase. And as such, as was asked by Councilor Lauren, we've modified the financing, switched it from loan to unfinanced, until we do in fact present the financial plan to council. And the last point was in regards to the water and sewer financial model review. So as part of the 2020 business plan, we will be bringing to council a recommendation that we review our financial model that was adopted 5 years ago. And in doing so, we would also be looking at that fire protection fee adjustment that we proposed for council. In the budget at this moment in time, we had proposed a retroactive correction to the revenues that did be associated to the fire department as well for the last 3 years, so 2017, 2018, and 2019. But as part of that financial model review, we will be looking at, should we be going all the way back to 2010 when that fire protection fee was implemented?
Just out of curiosity, Monsieur Leduc, Monsieur Bogdan, water and sewer rates, in regards to the city of Ottawa, have they thrown a number out how much they're raising the rates this year? Typically, it's been 6-7% over the last number of years, but I haven't heard anything from the city of Ottawa at this point in time, Mr. Godin.
Merci, Mr. Marceau. No, we've looked online and
Nothing's been
spoken
announced
with
yet.
our contacts. Nothing has been announced yet.
Okay. Councilor Godin?
If this budget for water and sewer takes into account an increase to the rates for Ottawa, or do we have to reopen it if their rates come in at 6%?
Right,
Mr.
so-
Godin?
Merci, Mr. Marceau. So at this point in time, we're not proposing an increase in our water rates. It does factor in that increase from Ottawa, but what we've done this year as well is adjusted our revenue estimates based on the number of growth that we've had in the water system and all that. And in speaking and looking at that analysis and speaking with Mr. Bourgon, we thought it best to propose a budget here with no increases, because looking at the trends, we were able to absorb that fee. And that being said, though, we do want to look at that model more in detail in 2020.
Right, I just wanted to reassure people that if we pass that tonight and Ottawa passes their budget at 6-7%, that we're not gonna come back and reopen it and have to charge more. Our fee's set no matter what happens with Ottawa, unless they come with an exorbitant amount of user fee increase.
That's correct. And when we do that financial model review, which we want to do early in 2020, we'll have more information as well for council to make that.
Excellent, thank you.
So there might be another discussion in regards to increases at that point in time, but won't be simply triggered by whatever Ottawa does.
Right.
That's correct. So there's other factors as well to look at, such as the new meters that we've installed and other activities in the water department.
Parfait. Merci, on peut continuer.
Donc, les autres annexes, en fait, on représente le tableau des projets capitaux puis des réserves, puis il y a eu des ajustements mineurs basés sur les discussions qu'on a eues. Mineurs et plus gros aussi. Like we had mentioned to council that we had, just before our budget sessions, we had received the tender results for some culverts. So we do have a reduction of those budgets in the revised capital, and the reserves are adjusted accordingly as well.
Conseiller Brisson?
Juste une question pour les calvrettes. Je sais que pour la rue Blais, on avait eu un tender directement qu'on compare dedans. Pour les deux autres, est-ce que c'était juste notre estimé qui ont revenu plus bas, ou si c'était d'autres estimés qu'on avait eu avant de tender, ou si c'est juste parce qu'on avait...
Monsieur Leduc, Monsieur Bogdan?
C'est les estimés qu'on prend dans notre évaluation là, qu'on fait à chaque 2 ans. Donc, dans notre OSIM, qui est un peu notre référence pour ces constructions-là. C'est de là qu'on a pris nos estimés pour le remplacement de FONSA. Donc, suite à l'appel d'offres, on était plus bas pour 2 des 3.
Continuez, Monsieur Godin?
Donc, c'est ça, les autres annexes qu'on retrouve, c'est les modifications qu'il y a eu aux frais aux usagers. Et puis, la liste des subventions et contributions communautaires pour 2020, c'est les pre-approved. Et on a aussi à l'annexe G l'organigramme de la corporation, qui inclut les quelques postes qui ont été discutés avec le conseil pendant les sessions. Puis, finalement, l'annexe H, so Schedule H, investment options for the additional 1% into roads. So when we had those budget discussions, council wanted to request an increase of 1% into the investment for our roads, and asked administration to come up with packages or options as to where we could invest that extra $120,000. Donc à ce point-ci, je vais céder la parole à M. Bourgon, qui pourrait peut-être expliquer un petit peu plus les différentes options et le raisonnement pour ceci.
Merci, Monsieur Godin. Monsieur Bogdan?
Following the road study that we did this summer, all our roads were, there's a condition that was put towards every road, and then a plan for 10 years that was put in place with the asset management strategy that we want to put in place, that invest a little bit now instead of waiting at the end of the useful life of those road segments. So those roads are identified from like in 1 to 5, which like you need to do an intervention in 1 to 5 year, 6 to 10, or if a road segment is deemed adequate, or if it's in the need of a repair now. The majority of those roads identified as a now are not part of the paving plan that was presented to council about a month ago. So from discussion of council, we regroup those roads, which if I step back a little bit, those roads that are in need of reconstruction or major repair represent about 66 kilometers of roads out of our just a little bit over 200 kilometers of paved road that we have in the township. Next year, we're planning to do close to 10 kilometers of those roads that are in need of repairs, identified as a now. Therefore, the remaining 66 kilometers are not getting touched at all for the next 10 years based on the plan. So we've took those kilometers of road and we did a list of collectors and local road. And then to present to council some option of where we could invest that extra 1% of taxation towards those roads that are in need of repair, but not in a paving plan. So the recommendation of staff is to invest those extra dollars into collector roads, which mean roads that are seeing the more volume of traffic in our road network.
Essentially the biggest bang for our buck, if you will.
Exactly, and so that's how we came about to get those five options that you see in that Schedule H.
Conseil Dallaire?
So, if I understand correctly, these 5 are not in the 10-year plan. Therefore, over the next 5 years, as an example, we would have that $150,000 each year, because if we put it in this year, then it's there forever, so we have that money. Over 5 years, we could do all 5 of these projects. Is that my
Essentially,
understanding?
yeah, exactly.
They would be outside of the current paving.
That's it.
Okay? And this year, do you, out of those 5 options, do we have any other paving that's in and around those areas that would allow us to lump it in with the tender to not have to have them move all their trucks across town?
Mr. Bourgon?
Mr. Mayor, we're right, like what we have as proposed for next year are pretty much all over a little bit all over the township. And since we're with that contract with the county, that remobilization of equipment, it's not really a factor anymore, being our contract being so big. So it's already factored in for them that they'll be moving around basically throughout the counties.
Okay.
So it's not really a factor for us.
So it doesn't, so for us, it doesn't matter that we would pick one of the 5 options that are closer to other paving
Exactly,
options.
we wouldn't see like a fluctuation in price because of that.
Thank you.
Conseiller Brisson?
La seule misère que j'ai un peu, parce que c'est beau dire en surfasté, mais c'est des bouts de chemin qui sont extrêmement beaux. Je comprends pas pourquoi vouloir faire ça au lieu de juste reprendre des chemins qu'on planifiait de paver l'année prochaine. L'exemple le meilleur, c'est Saint-Augustin. Le bout là, il n'y a quasiment pas de trou, mais de la Madeleine, aller à la rue Notre-Dame, là, tu te promènes tout croche parce que c'est un paquet comme justement en tant que conseiller, ça serait plus facile aussi à justifier, de dire OK, ben l'autre bout de chemin, il est déjà bien magané. Pourquoi pas réparer ces bouts de chemin-là, même si on ne fait pas aussi long, de les réparer comme il faut, les autres bouts qui sont déjà cassés, que l'autre, on va avoir un beau chemin, comme il y a déjà de la belle asphalte, ce bout-là, puis dire, oh non, on dépense 100 000 parce qu'on a remis à 1% de plus.
Monsieur Bourgon?
Essentiellement, on a fait l'effort de concentrer sur les segments les plus passants,
Oui.
de 1, d'avoir une distance qui correspond aux 120 000 aussi. Donc, c'est de cette façon-là que nous avons formulé les options que je vous ai présentées.
C'est juste moi, j'ai de la misère un peu avec cette manière-là d'aller, de dire, les autres chemins sont cassés. Puis c'est pour ça qu'on dit qu'on justifie qu'on remet à 1%. Là, on va se dire, ah ben, non, le chemin était beau, mais on a décidé qu'on arrête plus, puis on remet un PV, comme juste une couche dessus. Je sais que ça va protéger, c'est juste que l'autre, il est beaucoup plus cassé, l'autre bout, c'est ça que... Je ne sais pas comme avoir eu la liste de qu'est-ce qui était pour le paving pour l'année prochaine, pour savoir qu'est-ce qui pour leur avancer. J'aurais aimé avoir cette liste-là aussi, comme pour avoir une suggestion.
Monsieur Bourgon?
Ben, juste pour, dans cette ligne d'idées-là, mais comme je viens de mentionner, tous ces chemins-là ne sont pas dans la liste de pavage.
Je sais, c'est pour ça que...
Je veux juste clarifier ce que vous venez de mentionner, c'est de devancer un chemin de l'an prochain. Mais là, on vous présente vraiment des chemins qui ne sont pas dans le plan de pavage.
Oui, je sais, mais vu qu'on a... Ben moi, de manière, je l'avais vu dire à mes citoyens, dire, OK, les chemins sont maganés. C'est pour ça qu'on remet 120 000 dedans. Pour 1%, vous payez 1% plus parce que on va vous paver les chemins plus vite, ceux qui sont cassés. Mais là, c'est pas ça que tu nous as montré. dedans, que j'aurais aimé savoir quel chemin que c'était.
Toi, tu veux savoir sur la liste de, on va dire, 2021,
Oui.
c'est quel le prochain chemin?
Qu'on pourrait juste devancer, parce que si c'est sa liste de 2021, c'est probablement qu'il est bien magané. Et c'est pour ça de dire au monde, OK, ben on l'investit plus vite, et au lieu de 2021, on vous fait payer plus pour réparer tout de suite, parce que...
Monsieur Leduc?
Monsieur le maire, bonsoir, membre du conseil. Ils ne sont pas sur la liste, ils ne sont pas en 21, ni en 22, ni en 23, ni en 24, ils ne sont pas là.
C'est ça.
Non, il comprend ça, Monsieur Leduc, mais il dit, si tu comparais le chemin, on va dire le prochain, en 2021, comparativement à ce chemin ici, c'est quel techniquement qui devrait aller en premier? Je pense on est d'accord que ça serait le prochain sur la liste de 2021. Mais oublie pas, comme M. Bourgon a dit, il y a un 66 km de chemin qu'il faut qu'il soit fait tout de suite, qui ne sont pas sur la liste du tout, jamais. So, en mettant un petit peu de côté, on peut regarder assez d'avancer deux différents paliers de chemin en même temps. Parce que la condition, c'est, d'après ton rapport, M. Bourgon, ça, c'est des chemins qui, techniquement, devraient être faits aujourd'hui, c'est ça?
Exactement. Tout ce qui est identifié comme un arbre dans l'étude, c'est des chemins qui ont un besoin d'être réparés. Donc, on a un gros investissement à faire pour ces chemins-là.
Oui, mais dans celui-là, c'est-à-dire de la route 300 à la route de Madeleine, l'asphalte est toute bien belle. C'est pour ça que je dis pourquoi qu'on n'a pas eu la liste aussi de ceux qui sont parés à paver parce qu'ils sont maganés.
Monsieur
Même si on a moins de
juste confirmer, le rapport des chemins, il était dans le rapport de chemin qu'on a reçu.
Ouais.
Deux meetings
Toutes les conditions, dans une des annexes de ce rapport-là, toutes les conditions de tous nos chemins sont là.
Monsieur Leduc?
On pourrait répondre, M. le maire, à la question de M. Pétition tantôt, à savoir un autre segment. Je pense que M. Bourgon a une information sur ça.
OK, on va trouver ça. Monsieur conseiller Lorrain?
Il l'a déjà.
Ah, il l'a déjà, excuse.
Donc, si on regarde la condition générale qui tient compte de plusieurs aspects du chemin, on parle, les segments sur Saint-Augustin dont on fait référence, on parle d'une variation entre 68, 67 et 66 sur 100, la condition de ces chemins-là. Donc, essentiellement, ils ont tous un besoin, sont tous prêts, ils sont tous proches l'un de l'autre.
OK. Puis sur la liste de 2021, ça ne sert à quoi le prochain chemin? Ça, je pense que c'est la question.
C'est arrêté quand même.
Ça serait essentiellement, si on suit à la liste de pavage de 2021, mais c'est un chemin qui est quand même en bonne condition, si on veut dire, si on compare avec ceux-là,
Oui,
qu'est-ce qu'on propose ce soir?
Parce qu'essentiellement, il y a une valeur, l'argent qu'on investit dans le chemin, c'est peut-être un plus beau chemin à investir, mais c'est aussi pour le sauvegarder que s'il est abîmé plus, ça va juste nous coûter plus cher. C'est ça, M. Bourgeois?
Exactement. Donc, on investit maintenant pour pouvoir préserver le chemin plus longtemps. Donc, c'est essentiellement comme ça que le plan de pavage a été bâti. Donc, pour répondre à la question de M. Brisson, si je propose un chemin qu'on pourrait faire en 2021, mais ça va être une intervention comme ajouter une deuxième couche sur la route 300 ou un autre segment sur la route 400. Ça, c'est le genre de recommandation que si on suit le plan de pavage. Mais là, ce soir, on voulait présenter au conseil des chemins qui ne sont pas dans le plan de pavage.
Conseiller Lorrain?
Avec the issue, what I'm hearing the issue at hand is the methodology. And I think council has to resolve on the methodology for the use of the 1% before debating on this road over that road. You know, because what I'm hearing right now is Councilor Brisson would like us to just throw the 120,000 into the paving pot and have administration just keep going on the plan, of the paving plan. This, however, tells us that the 1% should be dedicated to roads that will never make the paving plan, but are still roads that are at risk. But because of the fact that they're further down the list, they're never gonna make the list. Is that fair enough to say? I mean, I'm sure there's more intricacies to that, but that's how I understand it. So I think before we decide on what road we're gonna do or what option we're gonna take, we need to resolve on the use of the funds.
Yeah.
I think that's the first point. And once we resolve on the use of the funds, then we can say, okay, well, if we're gonna throw it into the pot, then we just direct staff to continue on with that, and whatever the next $120,000 worth of project is, let's go. If not, then let's start talking about these options, because I don't wanna sit here and start talking about these options, cause this is what we have to do tonight when we approve the budget. I'm assuming we would pick one of these options. I don't wanna waste another 20 minutes debating on which road looks better than the other one and where to go until we know where the money's gonna come from, so.
Correct. So let's look at the methodology first. I think that, I agree with the administration on what they're proposing as far as methodology, because a lot of the roads that we're getting complaints on are not on the list to ever do. So it's sort of like trying to address, we're getting a lot of complaints on roads that aren't necessarily at the top of the list, but we don't wanna completely ignore these people in perpetuity. Monsieur Leduc?
Monsieur le maire, dans notre approche aussi, on a pensé que council would like to see further explanation regarding the paving plan, and also an updated version on the infrastructure bylaw that we had, that Mr. Lorrain had referred to. So we were planning to bring, at a future meeting, that explanation to council. So even though tonight you were not to associate that 120K to a specific project, we could still proceed with the presentation of that study and to help you as making the decision. Because you could be there deciding for discussing the next hour, or wait to have all the information in front of you, or if you want to go to where Mr. Diane is suggesting, is to discuss where the money should go. If that's the case, I think you should be reviewing the road study to really understand what it meant, what was in there, and what's not in there, to see how it is the best to bang for the buck. But in this case, if you were asked tomorrow and you passed the budget, where is it going tomorrow, you'd have to see the residents. We'll have another meeting further down the road to decide exactly which road it's going to be. So that's an option council can also take if it wants to go with that.
Yeah, that would simply be just removing the section that refers section H in the resolution itself. Conseil Larry?
I was just gonna suggest that we remove that section and have staff come back with Schedule H, I guess, and the methodology, and we resolve on the methodology, then we resolve on, have options for each one of the items, so that we know exactly what we're approving. If we approve methodology A, it's this road, these roads are this. Methodology B, then it's these options here. And then we move forward and we approve it that night rather than sitting here tonight and dealing with it.
And we can also perhaps have the consultant come in and explain the different methodologies, how that report came to be. Is that okay with everybody? Okay, so a separate item, coming up now, and then make an adjustment at that point in time. Okay, that was Schedule H. Monsieur Godin, t'avais-tu d'autres?
Merci, M. Maire. Donc non, ça c'est la dernière annexe, donc ça conclut un petit peu le résumé des changements par rapport au premier budget.
Okay, I will bring up Schedule E in regards to the modification to the user fees, simply because I believe all members of council and staff were copied on a request from a resident who was looking to get reduced rates for ice time during the day. So I told the resident that I would bring it up for discussion, so anybody has questions? Councilor Laurin?
Yeah, I think I emailed you back on that one, and I think it was a discussion that we had at one point in time last year. I believe I brought it up and asked about PD days and last minute ice type fee that we should put in, because I know a lot of other municipalities have that in place, rather than having the arena gonna sit empty, then, you know, if there's somebody there, then great, let's go, get some kids on the ice, especially during a PD day. You know, I know shinny is very popular with the kids, and whether on PD day, we either add additional shinny options or public skating options, or we offer reduced rates for people to purchase, you know. I think it's a great idea to allow for something like that, so.
Mr. Leduc, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have added more PD days of free ice time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Yeah, so now what we try to do is add some public skating, shinny hockey, and also public turf on all PD days with all council or school boards.
Okay, so
And
that's
during Christmas
already planified.
Christmas holidays and Easter and March break, so we've made a mandate
Okay,
to
so
do that.
that's already in place.
Yeah.
Conseil Tarnowski?
So I think that's good, but I think in this particular email, they were addressing like the last minute, so a snow day or something like that. Is there any value in that? Because PD days, I know I've noticed that we're adding ice time and so on. And it's, if we can on last minute snow days, where all of a sudden, you know, that half the schools are not in class.
So my question would be, what about the organizations that are already renting ice time during the day? So we're gonna charge them.
It's not available.
Okay, no, but all of a sudden they're paying full price, but somebody else would be getting it at half price? I'm just trying to understand the logic. Councilor Tarnowski, then Conseil Larrey.
So like most, like airlines, hotels, and everyone does nowadays, if there is capacity available, last minute capacity, and like, if there's no certainty in getting it at that price. If it's a last minute, then the space is available, you get that discount. The first option is always to the person willing to pay the rate. But if it's, you know, like 8 o'clock in the morning and there's a snow day is announced and there's nobody but, I don't see a reason. If there's a staff person then around there, I mean, it's a fixed cost otherwise, so it doesn't.
And then, is there necessarily a staff member sitting at the arena on a snow day, for example, or are they out and about doing other work?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. It depends on their day. If there's work to be done at the community hall, the staff might be there, because during the day, we only have one operator in each arena. We have other management staff, but they're not always on the premises because they might be in a meeting or something. So if there's nothing going on, there's nothing planned in the arena, then the staff might be working, let's say, the community hall in Ember and cleaning up.
Conseil Larrey and Councilor Brisson.
That's not to say that if somebody were to call and say they wanted an hour or two ice rental at a reduced rate, even, you know, I'll throw out a number, like even if it's $80 or $100, whatever that is, that person couldn't be there for that time, right? And the works could either be done later that day or the next day or another day, right? So that we actually get in some revenue.
I'll be honest with you, sometimes it might be hard, because let's say they have cleaning to do in Marionville, let's say, for example. So sometimes our days are very tightly scheduled, because like I said, we only have one staff during the day. So
To
to
look
say
after
that it's
multiple
impossible,
locations.
that's a big word. To say it might not be convenient, maybe that's the truth about the whole thing. But in other days, it could be okay.
Conseil Brisson.
Mon point, c'était juste, comme, je comprends la personne pour Snow Day, mais l'autre chose de comment gérer ça, puis de laisser savoir que l'aréna est ouverte ou pas, ça, moi, je suis pas vraiment pour ça, parce que comment que tu gères ça pour le staff aussi, de savoir s'il est disponible, s'il n'est pas. Je comprends qu'il a rajouté les choses quand que tu sais d'avance, puis tout ça. Puis l'autre, comme je dis, souvent, si les parents sont partis travailler pareil, fait que personnellement, je vois pas l'utilité de rajouter du temps. Il y a la glace dehors, mais c'est cause d'une tempête de neige, je sais pas vraiment. Mais ça, moi, je suis pas vraiment pour rajouter d'autres temps.
Conseil Larrey.
So I think we're confusing the issue, but I don't think we're adding more time. I think what is being asked for is a reduced rate for either last minute ice or snow day ice or PD day ice or whatever you wanna classify it as, like other municipalities have. My question to staff would be, what is the difference of somebody calling in right now and saying, I would like 2 hours of ice tomorrow from 10 o'clock to noon, and it's available because no one has it booked on the calendar, and then somebody calling up the tomorrow morning and saying, I'd like the ice from 10 to 12, and paying full price versus paying a reduced rate. Are we gonna say no to the person reduced rate? Are we gonna say yes to the person paying full rate? Like, I fail to understand the difference between the two, whether someone's paying full rate or paying half rate. If we would sell them the ice at full rate and have a staff member there, then what's the difference if we're selling it at a reduced rate and we would have somebody there?
Monsieur Leduc?
Well, in your example, if they're willing to pay the full price, why offer a reduced rate? That was to your first example. You may have other examples, but this one you said, if they're willing to pay full price.
No, I said, I was using it as if we were willing to sell it at full price and somebody called in and we would have a staff member there to do the ice and do what they needed to do for that ice rental, then what's the difference if we actually did reduce the rate and that same person called and got the reduced rate, you'd still have somebody at the arena, regardless of where they are in Marionville or the parks or whatever. If you're gonna take a booking, doesn't matter what the rate is. If you're willing to take a booking, then take the booking. If you're not willing to take the booking, then put a closed sign on the arena. And you're saying, my day today is as in Marionville, we're not taking any bookings today because we didn't get them a week in advance, or 3 days in advance, or whatever the timing is. And I'm just failing to understand the logic behind it. Because if somebody were to call and want the ice tomorrow at full rate, would we have somebody there to sell that ice? I think we would.
Monsieur Leduc?
I think we could, not necessarily would. It depends, again, if we're scheduled for a cleaning day in Marionville, if we know in advance and we have no operators, we could say no then, and sometimes we would say yes. It would depend what's the schedule at the moment. But, so it's hard to say, for 100% of the time, we're gonna say yes or no.
Conseil Brisson, Councillor Kanowski?
Interesting.
Councillor Kanowski?
At the end of the day, the danger when you reduce the price too much is you devalue the service, and so there's always a danger. And the only reason you would do that is if you have the capacity and you have a reasoning for devaluing the service. And so devaluing the value of that, say, to $80 instead of $125 or so, then it has to be, well, it's last minute, you don't know if you're gonna get it, and there's no real reservations based on the availability of a staff person there or not, based on last minute. So anyone that wanted to book it ahead of time, they paid the full price, they got it 24 hours ahead of time or so on. So that's the whole point of the last minute, is if you do allow it the day before at a reduced price, then you do devaluate the service, and you've established a price based on the value of it. So I wouldn't be in favor of just at any point in time, but if it is truly last minute on the day of, on a PD or a snow day or something like that, I think it's good, and as long as we cover our costs and make a small profit that we otherwise wouldn't on it, I don't see why not. And if it encourages, kids to go out and do sports rather than sitting and playing video games, then it's even that much better.
Conseil Brisson?
Il y a deux choses. C'est commencer, quand on dit à reduce cost, est-ce que ça va couvrir nos coûts? Parce qu'on n'est pas pour offrir le service aussi, puis que ça nous coûte de quoi, quand il y a déjà de... Puis l'autre, comme on le fait déjà à l'aréna, parce qu'elle nous coûte déjà de quoi.
Ben, je pense que si tu compares le vrai coût d'opération de l'aréna puis les prix qu'on charge, il y a déjà un reduce rate.
C'est ça.
C'est ça ma réponse.
Ah, c'est ça, je dis, c'est pour ça que si tu rebaisses encore le prix de ça, ça veut dire que tu couvres même pas le coût de l'employé pour y aller. Puis quand il dit, c'est une journée qui est trop mauvaise pour aller à l'école, souvent elle est trop mauvaise pour sortir pour aller à l'aréna, à moins que tu sois à pied, mais là c'est une dingue petite minorité. Fait que c'est pour ça que j'ai de la misère à dire, non, ben, surtout qu'on a mis les PDD. Si l'autre, c'était planifiable, mais de voir à la dernière minute, c'est comme on a déjà dit, est-ce qu'on est paré, le monde sont parés à payer de la glace pour avoir un complexe? On a mis une surtaxe même, mais là, il faudra baisser encore notre prix parce qu'il est à la dernière minute. Parce que c'est...
Il ne serait pas vendu à part.
Oui, mais si on ne couvre pas les dépenses, si on couvre les dépenses, oui, mais on l'a dit qu'on ne le faisait pas, même au prix qu'on avait comme c'est là, ou à peu près pas, si je ne me trompe pas, corrigez-moi si je suis wrong, mais qu'on ne couvrait à peu près pas nos prix. Fait que-
Ok. Conseiller Lorrain?
Two things. The first one is, snow days don't necessarily mean that all the roads are blocked and no one can get out of their houses. That means the buses have chosen not to run. So there's a huge distinction between people can get around and people can't get around. If the fact is, the snow day is now part of the consortiums of the bus lines that dictate the snow days. And rightly or wrongly, they dictate that. And if they feel that it's not safe for their bus drivers to drive, they cancel. The schools are still open. So whether somebody can get to the arena or not, I think is a moot point, whether people can get to there or not. I think, the second part to the comment that I have is, we have people that are potentially sitting at the arena. If, let's say there is a booking already there. The next hour after that booking, they could still be there cleaning up or doing whatever. You're saying that we're not in a better position if we were to accept $80 or $100 for that next hour of ice or for an hour of ice. Salaries are all being paid. What's the extra? Having the machine, the water for the machine and the lights being on? Are those the two other expenses when everything else is already being paid for?
The showers and the change rooms.
Right. So we're saying that the $80 or $100 isn't going to cover that? That's how much water we're using?
Mr. Yuzir?
I think on snow days, we should encourage our kids to go to school and not go to the arena. Because if the schools are open, the kids will be going to school, not to the arena.
When 3 kids show up to a class, the kids aren't going. I think that the question was last minute ice. So I am a proponent of having a last minute ice, meaning same day, whether it's a snow day, whether it's not a snow day or whatnot. If there is the availability of the ice and somebody calls on the day of, they're taking a chance that there may not be any ice. I think we have a non-prime last minute ice fee. I'm a proponent of that. I would be in full support of that. Let's set an amount and put it on the table, because that's what I think is reasonable. A lot of other municipalities have a last minute ice rate. So why are we not trying to get some additional ice rentals available to our taxpayers?
Thank you. So, I'm open to the idea, again, being that there's actually the opportunity. Like, I wouldn't want to put this into a user fee bylaw, and then somebody calls and says, I want to get some ice time today, and staff are tell them, unfortunately, we can't give you ice time today. And then we start getting calls, well, I wanted to book ice time, and you guys are telling me there's no ice time. Well, there could be a very valid reason why there's no ice time. So we're just opening, I think.
Well, let's be honest with them. Why, right? There's no ice because I don't have an operator available between the hours of 12 and 2.
Yeah.
So if you want to rent before then or after then, the same day or reduced rate for last minute ice is X amount. You can have those hours or you can have those hours. You just can't have those 2 hours. Absolutely, I can defend that every day of the week. But let's throw it, to me, that's the one thing that I've heard a lot of from people is having the last minute ice so that people are actually using it if they call. I mean, we're talking hypotheticals.
Yep.
There may not be anybody that ever calls for last minute ice during the day.
So what I would suggest is that we can approve this in the budget tonight. At the next meeting, bring back a report on this subject so that we can have further discussion on it and possibly rates or possibly look at past schedules to see what anticipated possibilities could be. Want to say that?
Can I suggest, since we would consider the entire time that the ice is open from, is that we consider a prime last minute rate and a non-prime last minute rate? Because you may get later in the year, end of February, end of March, beginning of April, where the hockey associations have taken less ice, and there may be additional ice available, that we throw that in there as a same-day, last-minute ice rental.
We can have that discussion. Just to be clear as well, though, the changes that council has made in the past in regards to associations being able to give back ice time resulted in a significant shortfall in revenues, if I remember well, Mr. Leduc, Madame Vital. Like, we dropped revenues $15,000-$20,000 because we allowed organizations to give ice time back.
Hold on.
Mr. Leduc, Madame Vital, is that correct?
Yeah, it is correct.
I'll say that.
If you compared what was presented in that actual bylaw, then yes, there would have been a shortfall. However, prior to that bylaw, those associations were not taking that ice, therefore we had not lost any revenue for that, from that perspective, from the bylaw perspective. The associations giving back ice, that's a totally different discussion when one association or two associations are actually abusing a process that should have never been abused in that way.
So then maybe it's a review of that bylaw to make sure there's no abuse.
I agree. The association should be following the bylaw, they should be paying on time, they should be following everything in that bylaw. And that goes to also the fact of not being forced to take ice that they can or never did use, never wanted, never can use. So I think that's where the accommodations came in the last one, was to allow them to opt out of the ice they never actually wanted or could ever use, based on the timing of the year.
Councilor Karnowski?
So if we're moving in that direction, I would probably look at all our facilities for last minute and non-prime, and then I would definitely agree with the process just to make sure that we look at what's already being done instead of reinventing the wheel, and also be careful of where people reserve and cancel last minute, so someone else can rebook last minute. So there's ways around that. So there are systems around that. So whatever, I would just make sure that we look at what other organizations are doing.
Okay, thank you very much. Monsieur Leduc?
I'm assuming now, Mr. Mayor, and members of council, that if we're to add all these new elements, that we'll be presenting at a further report to council, not necessarily next meeting.
That's fine.
Okay.
Everybody's good with that? Monsieur Godin, t'avais-tu d'autres sujets pour le budget?
No?
No? Was there any other further comments, members of council, on the budget? Councilor Tarnowski?
So does that work for what's being approved or not? Does that mean that,
So at this point in time, correct me if I'm wrong, I see that we'll probably have an amendment to take out the the item H for the 1% where the roads is being, it's still in the budget,
that's correct?
Right.
Okay, I get that.
and everything else is status quo.
Okay, and so we're allowed to add a user fee kind of thing?
So yeah, we'll be approving the user fee that's presented here because it had the complex additional fee. And then once that report comes to council, then we can adjust the user fees as we see fit.
Yeah, it wouldn't affect the 4% budget. No, in anything, it would add an additional revenue.
Okay. Any other questions on the budget at this time? It'll be a separate item moving forward, so. Okay, we'll move on to item G, summary of purchases awarded over $25,000. That council receives report FS 39/2019 dated November 4th, 2019 for information purposes. Questions, comments, members of council? No, Councilor Kanoski?
Just questions pertaining to the variances, like they're pretty good variances, they're all really good variances from our perspective. I just wanted to know, is there somewhere in the practice that we're not doing it right? So for example, they show your park entrance was 50% of what we budgeted and so on. So I'm just wondering why the big differences like that. They're good, don't get me wrong.
Monsieur Leduc, Monsieur Godet.
Merci, Monsieur Mayor. So just maybe I can clarify a few things. So, well, as you've seen with the budget process, we don't necessarily break down the budget by contract. So certain projects may have more than one contract. So when that's the case, you might see discrepancy here. I mean, for example, if you look at the first line on top, the new contract in the third quarter, we have a $55,000 budget for the town hall roof. The contract is $37,000, but we also do have an engineering contract for about $6,000. So in some cases, there could be some that could explain some variances. In some cases, though, the tenders do come in lower, and there are economies. You won't necessarily see that detail in here. What you kind of see is that contract actually within the budget, and with the other quarterly reports where we do show the capital budget status update, you'll have a better idea here of the accumulated costs.
Perfect. Other questions? No? Move on to the next item. Item H, Grants Application Report 2019 Q3. The council receives report FS 40-2019 dated November 4th, 2019 for information purposes. Questions, comments, members of council? No? Anything to add from the administration? Pretty standard report, we get it all the time. Move on to item I. 2019 Financial Report January to September, report FS 41-2019. The council receives for information purposes report FS 41-2019 dated November 4th, 2019, being the third financial report for 2019 covering the period of January to September 2019. Questions, comments, members of council? Anything to add from the administration? No? Okay. Item J, culvert replacement on Route 300, report ISPW 15-2019. The council receives report ISPW 15-2019 dated November 4th, 2019, and approves the proposed bylaw to award a contract and to authorize the entry into an agreement with A.L. Blair Construction Limited for a culvert replacement on Route 300 for $314,660 plus $5,538.02, equaling a total of $320,198.02. This amount includes 1.76% of non-refundable HST, and that the mayor and the clerk be authorized to sign the agreement. Questions, comments, members of council? Anything to add from the administration? Monsieur Bourgon?
I was just gonna add that those are all the numbers that a member of council signed that second draft of the budget.
Okay, perfect. Move on, item K, essentially the same thing, and it's the council received report ISPW 16-2019 dated November 4th, 2019, approves the proposed bylaw to award a contract and to authorize the entry into an agreement with Rabat Excavation for the replacement of a culvert on Blaise Street for $583,874.80 plus $10,276.20, totaling $594,151. This amount includes 1.76% non-refundable HST, and that the mayor and the clerk be authorized to sign the agreement. Questions on this culvert replacement? No? Move on to the next one. Item L, the council received report ISPW 17-2019 dated November 4th, 2019, and approves the proposed bylaw to award a contract and to authorize the entry into an agreement with A.L. Blair Construction Limited for the replacement of the culvert on Saint Joseph for $206,270.50 plus $3,630.36, totaling $209,986. This amount includes 1.76% of non-refundable HST, and that the mayor and the clerk be authorized to sign the agreement. Questions, comments, members of council? Anything to add from the administration? No. Next item, item M, Nature Trail Ditch Update Report PR 33-2019. The council receives report PR 33-2019 dated November 4th, 2019, and approves the administration recommendation not to proceed with the work of the natural trail ditch. Monsieur Leduc, Monsieur Bourgon. Madame Thor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I will start the presentation, and I think at one point, Mr. Bourgon will. So in fall 2018, as council probably remembered, we received a complaint about some drainage issue from a resident. His property backs up on the trail, and he was complaining that there was a lot of water being accumulated on his property. In April 2019, we received another complaint from the same resident, and at that point, the administration did go, the infrastructure staff went to investigate. And some elements were identified, and these elements were completed last summer 2019. So they did change a culvert, and they removed some wood pieces that needed to be changed. So following the May 6th council meeting, following a request from Councillor Jamie Laurent, the councillor gave us a direction to make a report and bring it back to council, which we are doing tonight. So at this point, I think I will leave the floor to Mr. Bourdon, because this is more his expertise than mine. So we did make a more thorough investigation on this issue.
Merci, Madame Nicole. Monsieur Bourdon?
Merci, Monsieur le Maire. So we did look at the south side of the trail, from the parking lot at first near that power station all the way to AD. We took elevation shots at several locations just to determine if there's enough fall actually to improve the drainage. As member of council may be aware, our township in general is fairly flat. So is that segment of the trail. So there's not much fall that we can gain or obtain by redoing the ditch itself in that portion. To do so, lots of trees needs to be cut down. And once that's done, that's about a week of work. So once that's done, we go in with similar to an excavator on wheels to remove all those stumps and regrade the full length of ditch. So we're looking at over a month worth of work in that portion. So that means the trail will have to be closed while we're doing all those works. And as you member of council can see, it's around $36,000 to do only the south side of the trail. And once that's done, since our the slope for the fall, it's at up to a bare minimum. Well, after rain events or in springtime, there's still gonna be water in those ditch. Just for the type of climate that we see, ice, like lots of meltdown and flash freeze in the winter time, so that create lots of ice. That holds the water, then that's why it takes lots of time. One of the reasons why it takes lots of time to drain. So it's our belief that by doing all that work, there's still gonna be water sitting or just going really slowly all the way to AD, since it's so long and the slope is so small.
Conseiller Brisson?
It's to note that the new project, they have some storm sewer at the back of their property. My question is, I know it's an older project, is there some storm sewer in front of the house that could be connected to bring hick and bottom at the back of the house that could resolve some of the problem?
Monsieur Bourdon?
Well, the type of infrastructure you're referring to, that's on the north side of the trail, and really those catch basin that's installed at the back of the property are not designed to take the water from the trail. They're designed only to take the water from the back of those properties. It's just, and all the pipes are sized accordingly to lead to the storm pond. So my answer to that for the other side, they are made in a similar way. So everything's designed only to take water from those property, not the quantity of water from the trail itself.
Conseiller Brisson?
Yeah, but I don't mean to put the hay and bottom at the bottom of the ditch, but if it's like higher, that there's still some water in the ditch, but not on the property as there is with the new project, and is there a storm sewer in front of that property?
Monsieur Bourdon?
Yeah, there's some on Dunlop in that area, and there's some rear yard CV catch basin to catch the water from the back of those property, but not the water from the trail.
Conseillère associée.
Okay, it's kind of interesting because I've been on the trail, I live on the trail, I've been there for 32 years. Now, I don't have water at my end and never have had a water issue, but there are definitely 3 properties that have a real issue where the backyards are completely flooded. So I'm just wondering, is it possible to put drainage from the property to the ditch? I totally agree with your report, I don't wanna see all these trees cut down. I walked it today, I walked the whole thing, I was checking it out, there was no water in the ditch today, even with all this rain that we've had. But in the spring, I did go and look at the properties in question, and it was basically a river in their backyard, and it's just odd that it's only these 3 properties. I know somebody else did do, a drainage line from their property to the ditch, so the water flows away from their property. So I don't know if that's possible, but I really think that we should relook at this in the spring and then just see what the condition is of these properties in question. And if there's still an issue that, something would have to be done, or at least, the trees that have fallen are taken out of the ditch. But I don't wanna see more trees cut because we lost so many on the north side. I don't wanna lose them all on the south side too, so. And like I said, in 32 years, I've never had an issue or seen any problems. I'm down near Edie Road at the other end. But, I was just wondering, it's, cause those 3 are up, near, well, almost at the end, the opposite end.
Near the power station.
Yeah, near the power station.
Conseiller Larin.
The water that ends up in the swales or the ditches on the south side and the north side of the trail, because there's one on each side, where does that water go? Does it go to a storm area? Because it is the township, that's the township property, and I know that the catch basins are for the properties. So where does that water go, if anywhere, or does it just stay there?
Monsieur Burgon.
It flows slowly towards Eddy Road. But being so flat, and so it takes a long time to actually get to Eddy, but that's the natural flow of water. So it's not captured by any type of storm. So it just flows slowly to Eddy Road, then from Eddy Road flows down to the Castor River.
On the road itself?
Overland, yes.
Overland.
Yeah.
Okay. So then is it the ditch grade that's the problem?
Monsieur Burgon.
Well,
Or is
again,
that- or is it acting as designed?
being so flat, being over such a long distance and flat, you don't get enough fall to get the water out efficiently or faster than we would love to see it. So that's why it takes a long time to flow down that about a 1 kilometer long distance.
D'autres questions? Councillor Kanowski.
So it's just checking, are those the pictures you were showing us in the spring? So, Monsieur Vautron, what you're telling us is that if it's on the ditch in that area, and the catch basins are for the properties, correct? If I remember correctly, and I know there's a varying width of township property there, but if I remember correctly, that water seemed to be already on the property as well, not
Yes.
just in the ditch
It's in
area.
their backyard.
So therefore, it's overflowing there, and I thought that was a major issue. The fact that there's water in the ditch is not good, but I mean, the fact that it's on the property and that it's staying on the property, I think that something should be done for that. And wouldn't the catch basins take that?
So I guess the question would be is the water that's going on the property, is it water on the property or is it water from the trail going onto the property? Monsieur Burgon?
Well, there's water coming, when it's melting, basically it's coming from
Everywhere.
everywhere. again, those catch basin or rear yard catch basin are all frozen up, all covered in snow and ice at that time of year. So that's an issue that we see elsewhere, like throughout the township, that it takes a long time for the water in the back of the properties to leave the property because of that ice or accumulation of ice in the back of those properties.
I'll say that.
Yeah, I guess for Councillor Tarnowski's question, I know I sent pictures, I don't know if you sent pictures as well. But the pictures that I sent in May that we referenced earlier, on the south side, it was not, the water was not necessarily on the properties, because
No.
there's a further setback than on the north side, right? So, however, I think some people have extended their property lines with fences and stuff, but I believe that the actual, water that I showed in those pictures was from the ditch and still on municipal property. So that would all be should all be captured by that ditch or whatnot. I don't believe when the pictures that I sent, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the pictures that I sent for the north side, or sorry, the south side, the water was still all in our property. They were not on the backyards of those properties. Is that accurate?
So let's, just to confirm, the resident that we're talking about on his property, the water, is it going onto his property? The three houses on Dunlop we're talking about, there's extended water on the property, not just the trail and the easement of, or the piece of property of the trail, but there is considerable amount of water going further up from both sides. Okay. Conseil Brisson?
It's just a small thing, but you did mention that all the water from the trail is going toward Eddy Road. But if you look at, on the north side, at about where the flood is, on the north side, it goes toward the first lane, I think it goes west and not east. Because because then it goes toward the school, the water over there. So that means that there's a slope going over there. But on the other side, I know it's full parking. So, but that's why I'm just asking. We did receive the report of cleaning the ditch, but as you were saying, there was almost no grade for this. The only thing I would ask, it would to be if it could be what it would cost and if it would be possible just to have a drain that is coming from the storm sewer to be brought at his back, or is it that it's too low over there? But if there's three, is it because the others have caused some problem? That's why I'm just asking if it could be resolved by having that drain done, and it wouldn't cost that like much.
I know we spoke earlier today, Mr. Bogo. I know that I spoke with the resident today, and he mentioned that there's one section where a lot of people have put little bridges to go over the gap. But it was mentioned that one resident actually filled it in, didn't put a bridge, but filled it in with earth and is blocking. So have we investigated that? Is that possible that that's actually causing a problem? Or did we, I know we did some work, but did we look at that specific issue there?
No, we haven't done anything at that specific location. We could take a look and see what really involved at that specific location.
Okay, because I know after speaking with the resident today, I got the feeling that if we looked at that issue and we did some more cleaning of removing some of the trees, you mentioned today that there was trees that were cut by hydro that were left but there's supposed to be on that side, there's some trees that are sitting in there as well. So, is it possible to look at that and address that one property I just mentioned, see what's involved in cleaning that and doing a little bit of cleaning at, you know, as opposed to a $36,000 cost.
In 5 weeks,
Yeah, and closing the
trail
trail.
closure.
Yeah, we can take a look exactly at that specific location.
See, so. Question, Councillor Sosi?
Yeah, so, yeah, to answer your question, when I saw the property in the spring, the water was into the yard. In fact, they have a shed in their backyard and it was surrounded by water. So they had to walk through water to get to the shed, and the shed is on his property. He has not encroached the trail on this particular, these 3 properties, because the old barbed wire fences are still there, and, you know, that's what was at the back of my place when I moved there 32 years ago, so we haven't extended our properties. I don't want any more work at I have enough property. But I was just wondering if it was possible if we could suspend the rules of procedure to allow a question on this topic, because.
Well, it's the last item in the
Okay,
reports.
okay.
So
We're close
question
to the
periods
end.
are going to be in
All
a
right,
couple of
we're
minutes.
close to the end. Perfect.
Okay, Monsieur Leduc?
Mr. Mayor, I wonder if council is open to consider, if that neighbor did in fact block the ditch
The ditch.
by not putting a culvert and blocking it completely, no culverts. Is council willing to, agree that staff offered the resident an invoice to repair it, or himself remove it within a certain amount of time? So that not taxpayers are to cover the expense of one person who's not, went on somebody else's property and did something wrong. So if that's the case, let's say if it's blocked and it's there, it's a different thing, we can clean up, that's one thing. But if it's definitely blocked by somebody who blocked the ditch, I think that person should be invoiced that cost to remove that dirt that's blocking it.
Normally I would totally agree. My only concern is how long's that person been there? He might have bought the property 5 years ago, and then all of a sudden this is like this, has no idea. But it's a conversation worth having. Councillor Tarnowski, then Councillor Sosa.
When we went out and priced out a project for $36,000, I'm kind of shocked that we didn't walk the trail to find that you're kind of announcing that. Like, wouldn't that have been obvious at that time? I'm just wondering.
Mr. Bourgon?
We actually took a video of the full trail.
Okay.
When we did our assessment, we walked it, we took all those elevations. So our mandate was to bring a report to council to see what was entailed to actually clean and redo the full length of the ditch. We haven't looked at the costs of that specific location.
Because that was the mandate given by council, was how much to clean the entire
That's
ditch.
correct.
The entire-
Not how to fix the problem.
Okay?
Not about just fixing the problem. Or looking for a cause for the problem.
Yeah. But that was the mandate that was given by council at that point in time, as to how much to clean the ditch.
Okay.
Councillor Sosi?
Yeah, and I think we really need to address this encroachment issue. Like seriously, like when I walked today, the full length there, I noticed at least 3 properties, coming back from the, Orbanelli development that have done the same thing, filled in the ditch and made, not a bridge, like they've just filled it in like
to
a
make a
walkway.
walkway.
So and they've put dirt and grass. Some are, have cleared right to the bike path, and when it was obvious pesticides were used, and then they've planted little flowers, but they removed every bit of natural vegetation that was there. So I would say there's at least 6 or 8 serious issues there along that, just that stretch. I mean, I know it's happening on the whole bike path, and I know, Madame Guitard, you've mentioned this before, but I'm just wondering, are we gonna send letters or?
That's it. It's going to be a report coming back to council, and I believe it's in our strategic plan as
Yeah.
well.
Exactly.
So it would definitely be
Maybe,
addressed. In regards to possible invoice, Monsieur Leduc, at this point in time, I would suggest that we have a look at that specific section, see what the potential problems are, if that is a problem or not, bring it back to council and with an idea of what's involved as far as cost to clean up, and if council is in agreement with that suggestion. Councillor Tarnowski?
So just be more direct, could we do that for the whole trail? Like, if you're talking about other areas that have those? not just that particular one, but wherever there is that issue.
No, that, as, addressing the trail as a whole is on our strategic plan and will be coming as a report to council.
Okay, no, but you're mentioning like there's at least 3 other areas where they blocked off the ditch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be in the
That's it,
strategic
yes.
plan, that's what the report coming to council is, how do we deal with the encroachment along the whole trail? But we're talking, in regards to this report here tonight, this was specifically to address I'll call it a flooding, but the water issue in that area. So can we have a look and see, bring a report back on what's the potential? I know the report says that it will, you're gonna look at it again in the spring, but perhaps there's an opportunity to go ahead of time and look now and see if did somebody actually block it at that point in time, or that location that could be potentially helping the issue?
So I guess, my understanding though, this report comes out of the May meeting, is that correct? So it wasn't designed specifically for those 3 properties.
No.
These 2 properties were identified afterwards. In terms of the actual request that was made, that I presented, and that, a different person who lives on the
Other side.
north side of the property, north side of the trail in the Colmar development, we've done the analysis to clean the whole thing up. It's $36,000, whether or not we wanna do it or not, and block out 5 to 6 weeks of the trail in prime usage timeframe. The $36,000 cost, and to clean all that out, which could include cost of all of those bridges that have been made by people and put out there, and that I'm assuming the $36,000 does not include the removal, tear down, and possible replacement of all those, right?
Mr.
No
Legault?
replacement.
So you just be wipe them out and everything. So now, while doing this, other issues have come up. We've got more notifications from residents. We've identified now 3 additional properties that there's a bigger need for issues to be cleared up. Is that my understanding?
Correct.
Thank you.
So what I'm suggesting is that we accept this report, we go with this report, but in regards to, we give direction to the administration to look at these 3 parcels of property to see if there's potential there in regards to the homeowner who has potentially blocked the ditch, to see if that, and what would be involved in cleaning that up and possibly cleaning some of the wood in that area, to see if that helps with the flow. And if that work was done sooner rather than later, we could potentially see if it has an impact this spring. Conseil Brisson?
Yeah, definitely not, if there's some blocking of the ditch, to do it before the winter. And also, if we look and say, maybe having some option 2, that if that doesn't work by the spring, by removing that encroachment, what's the option 2? Can we bring something else along?
Well,
Like having some other option that maybe it's share cost, maybe it's our cost, I don't know, but having, if we bring like a Hickenbottom at the back, is it one solution, or was it? Like having, just be open-minded of how to solve that problem, because it goes beyond, because whenever we say it was for the trail, but there's some that is from the property too. The water is coming from where it has
and
to.
just to be clear, this isn't a new problem.
No,
When I spoke with the resident, he's been here for 34 years and it's been going on for 34 years. So it's not like there was something that changed recently that caused this. There's just the concerns are there. So,
having just open-minded if there's other
je
solutions.
pense, Monsieur le Duc, Monsieur Bourgon, vous avez une direction, vous avez une bonne idée, qu'est-ce qu'on regarde pour? Oui? Okay, so everybody's okay with that direction? Okay. Perfect. Move on to the next item. Item 12, reports from investigator and ombudsman. We have none. Item 13, notice of motions. We have none. Item 14, question period on the meeting of the day. So if anybody has a question for council, I invite you to come up to the lectern and pose your question, please.
I'm gonna jump ahead. My name is Rudolph Van Westwick. I own the property that you just discussed.
Yes. Question,
Okay.
just to make sure it's not
I
a,
just like to give a little bit, can I just give a little background on what I
it's
was
actually a question
observing?
period, so it's not a place to give statements, it's to ask a question. If you have a question, we'll be more than happy to answer it for you, or try to at least.
My question is, I've been trying to inform this council through different means at different levels from last 3 years, from a very low aspect to the very high aspect to even this year. At this time, I also want to appreciate the cooperation I've had so far, what work is being done. But honestly, I work in that trail, I have the knowledge, I introduced photographic evidence, I took a video of the water flowing from your ditch onto my property and going to my neighbor's storm sewer drain.
So what's your question, sir?
My question is, with all the information I was giving, and all the information I was very available, and I explained to many different people, why, in my opinion, and it's my humble opinion, that people here don't have a real grasp of what is exactly going on, as far as extended work needs to be done. To me, in the beginning, it was a very simple solution, I still feel it is, to lower the water by 4 to 5 inches. That would get that off the property.
So lower the water house, lower the
Okay.
ditch?
Let me explain to you. The water backs up from before that property where the person blocked the ditch completely with the pathway, all the way to just in front of the power transfer station for distribution.
Right.
Your property is filled with water in a high spring all the way across. The ditch, which is shallow in their end, is much further away from the property line for the properties than it is to mine. I'm closer.
Okay,
Okay?
so just to
So,
be clear, sir,
yeah.
so in regards to your question,
Okay, you want a complete question? With, my simple question is this. It is a straightforward problem that with the pictures I gave to you and the video shows it straightly flowing to my property from the ditch, that this information, to my knowledge, was not distributed among the people that are responsible. And I talked to every one of them, personally myself, at a very nice level. And I don't mean to criticize. What I'd like to know is why did that communication, what I heard tonight, not communicated among you? And why did the photographic videos and photographs that I sent even this afternoon, maybe we did, the person I sent to didn't receive it, but they're all there. The logs are cut, you can see where they cut with the chainsaw. They're in the ditch, it's a low slope.
yeah,
So I'm asking why? Why is that information not distributed among the people that are responsible?
So, Monsieur Leduc, Monsieur Bourgon, the information,
And I'm sorry, I mean that respectfully.
yeah,
Okay,
no, that's fine.
all right.
We have the information in the report that shows that this is a problem since 2018?
No, more than,
Monsieur Bourgon?
When it first came to my office, yes, 2018.
Okay, so I can't speak to what happened
No.
before that, okay? If you have emails, correspondence, that kind of stuff prior to 2018, I invite you to send it to me or send it to Monsieur Leduc, and we'll investigate that side of things, why the information wasn't relayed. But in regards to the situation now, I think you've just heard the discussion, that council has given direction to the administration to relook at that section, see if that blocking and the trees in the ditch and stuff can be hopefully fixed.
Mhm.
Hopefully it fixes the issue. I'm hopeful that it fixes the issue. But the reality is it might not change anything.
I accept that.
Yeah.
But the point is, it's a very easy solution to, it saves you a lot of money by just doing that. okay?
So, well, that's
And that's
direction
how I
council.
see it. You also have to see, I just gotta be able to tell some of my feelings in this, is that I've dealt with this, I started dealing with this before 2018.
Okay, so as I stated, send me the information.
Sir, I'm not lying to you, it's just, you know.
No, but I have to be able to provide that information or
Anyway.
send that information to our Director General,
No,
so he can look at the matter.
I'm not here to point fingers. All I'm saying is for 3 years of frustration where I lose my back lawn, which I receded this year because I was in an impression, and I sent that email that somebody sent to me, I would reseeded all my grass, thinking that the work was gonna be done, because it's not a lot of work. And again, I'm getting the same, that that's not fair. It looked like it was gonna be put off in the spring, and somebody mentioned maybe we should look at this fall. And that is correct. If that happens, I'll take I am not here, I just like to get a result to satisfaction that you're not gonna solve the whole solution in a very short period of time. I'm a realist, I understand that.
No, but I just wanna make it clear that the solution that you're proposing, even if the work is done, might not rectify the problem.
Sir, I fully respect that. There's no guarantee in this world,
Nope.
okay, and I don't expect a guarantee either, okay? But if it's done, you're gonna get me off, I don't have to come to your office anymore.
Conseil Lorrain.
I would just like to be clear that I have not received anything on this file, so I
No,
have not
you have
received a
not.
video, an email, a phone call, or nothing.
No, you have not, sir.
On your property or any other
No,
property,
you
so
have not.
I just wanna make that clear, so
I fully understand.
I'm trying to comment on it, but I can't because I haven't
No.
seen it.
And I appreciate that,
Yeah.
okay? And that's all I want to bring across, okay? And I would really appreciate if you gentlemen just look, please take a close look. Because when you walk along the trail, it's pretty fairly obvious.
I think we've given that direction tonight. to our-
Yes, you did, I thank you very much.
Not
The
a
north side is in much better shape, but like was mentioned, just, the people are doing the same thing. Still, on a personal note, the lack of respect of somebody else's property, which that trail is, and people assuming that they can do what they want. I have a bridge across my property, I'm just like anybody else. That bridge is very well constructed, it's about that high off the district, because the ditch is very deep there. Doesn't impede with the flow or anything, and it doesn't mean it's right, I'm not gonna make an
No, no.
excuse,
No, no.
okay?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, but it doesn't impede with anything. There's one last note that I'd like to bring out to you, okay? There's a lot of school kids that walk that school trail to go to school, and that ditch, I can swim in it, okay? And if you look at that ditch where my property is, that ditch is very steep, very slip, and if they slide off it, it's also a liability, so therefore, I'm not trying to make excuses, I'm just being, again, a realist,
Yep,
and that's all I'm trying to make.
perfect. Thank you very much, sir.
If I sounded off, I apologize, but I thank you for your
Nope.
time,
Hey, no worries.
okay?
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much.
Other questions?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Charles Armstrong, Castleville Street, Amber. I have a question concerning item 11F, Schedule A. That's the actual budget summary.
Yes.
And the question concerns in the revenue section, the fourth and the fifth line. I noticed that there is a significant increase in the budget for revenues from water and sewer billings, especially compared to the estimated 2019 actuals. What's driving that increase in both of those line items?
I would assume it's all the new construction that's happening, record numbers, but.
I
Mr.
mean, we're
Godet?
talking 39%.
Mr. Godet?
Through Mr. Mayor. So essentially, yeah, so that is one of the points that we touched on during those budget sessions. As part of the 2020 budget preparations, we did have a look at all the the new units that were added to the network. When you're comparing to the actuals from 2019, just a note here that we've actually only billed we've had three billings, and we have 4 total. So there is another billing that's going to be added to that. So although it's I understand the assumption that they're estimates for year end. These are current actuals, so there will be another billion to add to that. So that represents maybe roughly just under 75% of the revenues that we're actually gonna receive in 29.
So there's roughly another 25% that's gonna be added to the actual numbers once it's received.
Correct.
As well, I think that, Monsieur Leduc, Monsieur Bocron, correct me if I'm wrong, but pretty much the installation of the new meters have all been completed.
And Mr. Mad, that's correct, we're only missing like 8 at this time, so we have the accurate consumption.
Yes. I've had a few residents call me and were surprised at the amount of their bill, simply because their water meter was maybe malfunctioning in the past and the revenues weren't quite there, but that would help more accurate numbers coming from the meters.
The next is just a general question, and actually maybe it's Madame Tremblay that could answer the question. Drainage in subdivisions. Am I correct in assuming that when a plan of subdivision is entered, there's a drainage plan also produced?
Monsieur Leduc, Madame Tremblay, that is correct?
Yeah.
That's
Okay,
correct.
this is just, concerning how things are draining, it just, what was intended versus what is happening could be
And
something.
we're talking the project, that
well.
project specifically in 2005.
No,
Dunlop,
the other side now.
yeah,
Before
is
that,
way
in
older.
Oh, yeah, yes, and as for, I'm sure there was one for the New York Central Railway. No railway engineer would design a railway without a drainage plan, but the chances of you having a copy of that are pretty small.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Okay, next, oh,
J'aurais une question.
oui, question.
Bonjour. Premièrement, j'ai une félicitation à vous faire. La rang Saint-André, il y avait le pont, qu'il avait enlevé l'asphalte, puis il avait laissé ça en roche, puis la roche en a trop dans le fossé. Finalement, ils l'ont pavé. Félicitations, vous avez fait une belle job.
On va passer ça au staff.
J'aimerais ça si le restant du rang pourrait être fait pareil. Mais
Oui,
je
tu veux
rêve,
juste
en couleur.
juste dire ton nom, ton adresse.
Oui,
pour
mon
la
nom
question.
c'est Marc Patnaud, puis je reste dans le rang Saint-André, 1591. Il y a une autre question. Je n'ai pas vu le rang Saint-André dans le. Quand est-ce que vous pensez qu'il y a une possibilité qui va être pavée?
Monsieur Leduc, Monsieur Bourgon, Saint-André, sa liste.
Est-ce qu'on dirait qu'il arrête à la route 400 Saint-André?
Hein?
On part là, du village, puis on
Oui.
se rend jusqu'au garage municipal, dans un beau chemin pavé, mais au stop, la rue 400, là, le chemin 400.
Oui.
Après ça, je sais pas. Moi, ils ont oublié qu'il y avait un bout de chemin.
Ben, comme notre rapport l'a dit tantôt, il y a au-dessus de 200 km de chemin dans la
Vous en demandez
municipalité.
pas 200, vous en demandez 4,2.
Oui, 4.2, c'est un bon montant.
Ben,
Monsieur Bourgon?
il avait fait dans le chemin Marionville, là, avec Dundas. OK, c'est de l'asphalte froid. Je serais bien satisfait d'avoir un chemin de même, à comparer du nôtre. Je vous invite tout le monde ici là, à venir prendre une ride avec moi en tracteur, là, dans notre rang, mais qu'on arrive à l'autre bout. Là, dans
Des
les
gros
marchés.
tracteurs?
Des petits tracteurs, des gros tracteurs, des moyens tracteurs. Le tracteur, tu voudras, Pierre.
OK.
Tu le choisiras. Puis, mec, t'ailles débarquer au bout, tu me diras, je pense qu'on va être mis de marche prise parce que c'est trop rare.
Monsieur Bourgon? As-tu sa liste? Saint-André ou Caton?
Avec maintenant le financement comme qu'on l'a présentement, dans le plan de pavage, cette section-là de Saint-André ne se retrouve pas dans le plan.
OK.
Donc, ça se retrouve sur la liste là, de chemins, comme j'ai mentionné, qui est dans un état de now, mais qui n'est pas dans le plan de pavage en maintenant le financement qu'on a présentement.
So, une autre raison pourquoi que on devrait avoir des fonds sur ce bord-là, parce que. Puis, c'est-tu. Ben, je veux dire, c'est peut-être une rencontre qu'on pourrait faire, jaser, savoir c'est pourquoi qui est si bas ça liste. C'est-tu le. Parce que nous autres, on suit les standards du ministère, c'est ça, M. Bourgeois?
Oui, exactement. L'évaluation a été faite selon un manuel d'évaluation du ministère des Transports. Donc, on en regarde à plusieurs facteurs là, dans cette évaluation-là.
Puis certain qu'un des facteurs, c'est le montant de trafic sur la.
Exactement. Puis le plan qui a été monté, encore une fois, je reviens avec notre asset management. C'est une stratégie qui est pour maximiser dans le fond le dollar investi. Donc, si on veut venir, comme que le rapport mentionne, si on veut avoir un short term, il faut augmenter notre investissement à 2,3 millions. Si on veut être capable de faire tous nos chemins de façon d'un délai raisonnable, comme sa vie utile le prévoit, ben là, on parle d'environ 4 millions
Puis-
d'investissement par année.
Oui, ça c'est un 4 millions par année d'investissement.
Oui, pour les chemins, pour maintenir ton réseau dans une condition au-dessus de 70% dans tout notre réseau routier de la municipalité.
OK. Ouais. Juste pour que tu saches, 1% de taxe, quand on augmente 1% de taxe,
Mhm.
ça représente à peu près 120 000.
C'est ça.
So, si on veut mettre un 4 millions de plus, tu regardes
En tout cas,
un gros montant.
Des fois, vous recevez des octrois du gouvernement provincial, des petits cadeaux.
Ouais.
Mais j'aimerais ça que si vous avez dans votre bourse, des fois, vous l'ouvrez vers le sud en brun. Pas juste s'en aller vers la 417. Et une autre chose que j'aimerais savoir, c'est dans la route 500, le pont qu'il y a là, avez-vous l'intention de l'enlever ou de le corriger, de le réparer?
Je pense on est en train de réévaluer nos ponts tout le temps.
Mais je vois qu'il y en a plusieurs là-dessus, là, mais
Oui.
un ponceau, ça serait parfait. On ne peut pas dépenser 700 000 $ pour faire un pont. Là. Juste mettre une calvrette, puis mettre de la roche, puis du sable, puis comme vous avez fait dans le chemin Grove, là, on passe avec nos machines, puis c'est très bien. Je ne vous demande pas plus que ça.
C'est bon à savoir. Monsieur Bourgon,
Parce que
il va
nous autres,
avoir
on passe 3 fois par jour à aller soigner les animaux, là. Puis, franchement, là, c'est bien dur, ces machines.
Ok.
J'ai obligé de remplacer, mon vieux, des machines qu'on calculait de garder 10 ans. Au bout de 3 ans, elles sont cassées, sont finies. C'est une grosse dépense pour nous autres aussi.
Oui, oui.
Puis je pense qu'on en paye bien des taxes.
Merci beaucoup. D'autres questions? No? Move on to resolutions. Motion that council approves all recommendations listed on the agenda under number 11, reports from departments and council committees. We'll put it on the table, then we can make an amendment to remove something. Need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councilor Tarnowski, seconded by Conseiller Brisson. We were to remove item F, c'est le seul? Okay, to remove item F. Need a mover and a seconder to remove item F. Moved by Councilor Lorrain, seconded by Councilor Tarnowski. All those in favor of removing item F? Okay, so we'll vote on everything except item F. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. So now we will deal with item F, which was the budget. So I need a mover and a seconder to put it on the table. Moved by Councilor Lorrain, seconded by Councilor Saucier. So it is on the table. If we have any amendments, now is the time. Conseiller Brisson?
C'était juste une question que j'ai oublié de demander, vu qu'on rouvre les choses pour le budget. Je sais que quand il avait parlé dans la discussion du le stationnement, agrandir le stationnement ici, il y avait une dépense de 40 000 d'ingénieur. Je me demandais, c'est pas de l'ouvrage qui peut être fait par notre staff interne, que juste pour agrandir.
Monsieur Leduc, Monsieur Bourgon?
Merci, Monsieur le maire. Donc, pour produire tous les plans qu'on a besoin, on n'a pas personne à l'interne pour faire ces travaux-là. On parle puisque l'agrandissement est au-delà de certains seuils, faut faire, on se fait nous-mêmes notre application là, d'un site plan de agrandissement de stationnement. Donc, il y a plusieurs plans qui doivent être produits, puis on n'a pas les capacités à l'interne de produire ces dessins-là.
Parce que c'est pas juste mettre l'asphalte ou l'herbe. là.
Non, exactement. On doit revoir là, toute la façon qu'on gère l'eau de surface. C'est ça qui est
C'est ça.
le gros facteur là, dans le fond.
OK. D'autres questions? So, Conseiller Lorrain?
So I guess I'll make the request to remove item H to be discussed in a separate report to council. However, I believe we still leave in the 1% in the actual resolution, correct?
Yeah, so the section I would recommend removing is that council approves option 1 as presented in Schedule H as a desired option for the investment of additional 1% taxation into our roads. So if we remove that, the 1% is still in the budget. This was just for the option itself, so that option will be presented in another report if we remove that section.
So how about I suggest that we remove that section?
Okay, sounds good.
Good idea.
Moved by Conseiller Lorrain, seconded by Conseiller Brisson. All in favor of removing that section? Opposed? Carried. So that section is removed. Any further questions on the budget? Anything to add, Mr. Leduc, Mr. Godin? No? Okay, so I'll call the vote on the budget. I'll call for a registered vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. I believe the vote was unanimous. Everybody is in favor. So congratulations to the administration on another year of work on the budget. I know that council goes through it within a few days, but the administration works on it for months and months and months and months. And it's not always easy to look at all those projects and how to move forward, but I'm glad the administration was able to present a very thoughtful budget at 2%. Council made the decision to invest in our road infrastructure and in our future sports complex. So I think that at 4%, I think is quite reasonable, and we're investing in the right places. So thank you very much for the hard work that you put together this budget. Conseil Doré?
Sorry, just one other thing while you're congratulating them on a good budget process and whatnot. Just to note as well, it was their second budget within 8 months. So, because of the fact that there was the election last year, so you've done it twice in 1 year. I mean, I don't think you've gone out of budget mode since the elections. So,
2 months.
what's that?
2 months.
Yeah, 1 to 2 months you're out of the budget process. So, yeah, no, I feel the mayor's sentiments on that. The fact that you guys have had a very long 8 months of budget processes, and I think you've come out excellent on both sides. So.
Thank you very much. I think there's some well-deserved vacations coming up for a few people, so that's probably a good thing. Move on to the next item, item 16, bylaws. Yes. Motion that council approves bylaws 2019-156 to 2019-163 inclusively for first, second, and third reading as listed on the agenda. Need a mover and a seconder to put on table. Moved by Councillor Lorrain, seconded by Conseiller Brisson. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. Item 17, business reports. The new business reports, we have none. Item 18, Councillor Tarnowski, a tree cutting bylaw.
So it was discussed in an email that Dominic sent that perhaps it was time to review tree cutting bylaw. So I just wanted to bring that up for discussion.
Monsieur Leduc, Madame Tremblay, is that in our strategic plan?
We don't have one at the moment,
Currently.
but there is mention about a tree cutting bylaw in our official plan.
In our official plan. Is it in our strategic plan as well, Monsieur Bougon?
Yes, it is, and it was also an action item under the tree canopy policy that was approved by council last year.
Okay. Councillor Associate, Conseiller Lorrain?
Yeah, so that was, I brought a copy of it, that we have the bylaw was passed February 19th, and bylaw 2019-031. So to adopt a policy with respect to the manner in which the township will protect and enhance the tree canopy and natural vegetation in the township. And when I was going through the whole thing again, we're discussing this at the Environment Committee as well. It was just, again, working with stakeholders, and I'll come back to, the issue that just happened on the bike path and why we're not having natural vegetation protected, at least with a buffer, and then allowing clear cutting along the bike path. So I still don't understand. I feel like we're not, doing what we said we would do with this bylaw, and that it's we need to protect what we have. We know we're very low, and so yeah, I just think we need to relook at this.
So what I would suggest, Councillor Associate, is you chair the Environment Committee. If the committee has suggestions, if you're not happy with the way the bylaw is written, you can always make recommendations to council in regards to that.
I'm happy with the bylaw, but I just don't feel we're adhering to the bylaw at all. It's in place, and everything that we're stipulating in this particular bylaw, we're looking at an urban tree bylaw to, like, to protect our trees within the villages. But this particular thing, and it is in our official plan as well, and our strategic plan, and just everything that it's stating in here, I just feel like we're not doing, because it talks about buffers and protecting streams, and, you know, I don't wanna read it all, but, increasing habitat and creating community awareness. So if we're not doing it as a township, you know, then we're not getting the message across.
Can you see that?
Yeah, sir, is that a